It's not real, so why do we let it hold us back?
For the first 25 years of my life, I really feel like fear dictated a lot of who I was.
But in a single instant in January of 2022, my life in relationship with fear would change forever. 7 years ago, Wyatt and I came together because of our love for one thing.
We literally connected over music, as we do still to this day.
And together, we built a life around it. As a result of the pandemic, we went almost 2 years without attending a show. So when we caught word of this festival,
and the lineup is absolutely outrageous,
it was a no-brainer in Wyatt's mind that we were going.
I decided this festival was the perfect time for me to pop the question and propose to Lindsay.
A plan I promptly destroyed after putting my foot down, ensuring we would not go. I've always been afraid of spending money, and I thought this festival was too expensive and too risky to attend. Just like that, something I had wanted so badly slipped right through my fingers as a result of my own fear.
That was such a huge breaking point in my life, where I realized that I cannot let fear stand in my way of anything any longer, and I needed to just do as many things I was afraid of as possible.
So I did. I changed my mindset and started agreeing to things that I knew would put me outside of my comfort zone. But the thing with facing fears is that it's like climbing a mountain. Once you summit one peak, there's always another on the horizon.
Yeah, what's going on?
Okay, so Lisa just messaged me. They did the craziest thing in Bolivia.
Oh yeah, what'd they do?
They climbed to the top of a mountain, and the photos are outrageous.
Okay, cool.
This mountain is literally taller than Kilimanjaro.
What? Really?
Yes, really. 6,088 meters above sea level. And to put that into perspective for you, here's the mountains you might have heard of. Ben Nevis in the UK, Mount Olympus in Greece, Mount Whitney in the US, Mont Blanc in France, Kilimanjaro in Tanzania. Huayna PotosÍ in Bolivia stands taller than all of them. At this altitude, there is a 52% decrease in oxygen, and the sun's rays are 60% more powerful.
And I think that we should do it too. It's like a super affordable mountain to climb, and you can just hire someone in La Paz to take you.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
Okay, cool.
As casual as this conversation was, we really had no idea what we just signed up for. And that's because hiking here is the closest we've ever come to something like Potosí. Just for reference, that's a difference of over 2,000 meters. So to get a better picture of what we were in for, we phoned up our friends, Philip and Elisa.
This high, every small changes in the weather could be very extreme, and it can get very dangerous in one moment to the other.
It was super exhausting just because of the height, just because of the low air, of the thin air.
I saw many people fail. I saw people having huge issues with their stomach there. Obviously the biggest issue was the mental part for me. I was doing Ironmans, I was doing multiple marathons, and nothing will prepare you to this.
There you go. The night before this experience was set to start, I did not sleep at all. I laid awake just feeling anxious and thinking about how afraid I was that I might not be able to climb the mountain.
I've watched so many documentaries on other expeditions and climbs to places like Everest. So being in the van on our way to actually do this and knowing what was before me had me so jazzed up. There was a point in time when we were on the road and we came around a bank. And as we came around this corner, Potosí revealed itself to us.
Overwhelmed, daunted, tiny. That's how I felt when I saw Potosí from the van.
Look, Lindsay, snow!
Snow! Just like home! I keep saying to everyone, the one part of this thing I'm not worried about
Is the cold.
is the cold, because we know how to do cold. Welcome to Huayna PotosÍ Base Camp. That is my bunk, and that is Wyatt's bunk.
The first thing we did at base camp was had lunch with everyone.
We got avocado, rice, mixed veggies, cucumber, tomato, cheese.
The thing I was most excited about in the low camp was the bathroom.
This is a real proper nice bathroom.
Wyatt spent a ton of time in there.
I don't know if it was the altitude or bacteria or parasites in the food that we were eating, but my stomach had been in turmoil for 2 to 3 weeks leading up to Potosí.
After lunch, Ovi told us that our next step was to go out to a glacier to learn how to use all of our gear.
Once we arrived at the base of the Old Glacier, Ovi gave us harnesses to wear and showed us how to attach our crampons.
Look at that! I'm like Gene Simmons. We just climbed up a little bit of a glacier. A couple hundred meters, it's snowing, and now we're stopping for a break. Oh, you want some cookies? I'll feed you some cookies.
This here is Ovi, or as we came to refer to him, Obi-Wan Kenobi. It's going to be his job to get us safely to the summit and back.
Now is climbing, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
We're waiting on Ovi to run ropes so that we can scale the ice wall on the top of the glacier. And about 10 meters from our group was another group scaling another portion of the wall.
And one of their members was throwing up a lot. Altitude sickness can cause this to happen. And just hearing it and seeing it really underscored for me how serious what we were doing was.
Scaling that wall was so much fun. I could have stayed out on that glacier and gone up and down all day long.
Good job.
I found scaling the ice wall really hard. I was squeezing my axes so hard that my hands were like going numb by the time I was halfway up. And I just felt like my whole upper body was exhausted. And despite all of that, it was a pretty cool experience. And I was probably like 1 foot from the top when I turned around and asked Ovi if I could come back down now. And he was like, no, you have to go to the real top, like the very top. And so I like managed to get up another like arm and leg each, and then he let me like rappel back down.
It has been a couple hours. We're about to eat dinner. I don't know how much I'm gonna be able to eat. My stomach is just a wreck.
Oh God, is it again?
That's just got me really rattled because even when we were out earlier at the glacier, I was dealing with stomach problems, and now we have to like do this really difficult thing with the upset tummy. It's gonna be like...
Yeah, I know. I'm nervous about that part too, honestly. Hey, sweetie. You're so snug and cute.
I'm trying to go to sleep, but everyone's got the lights on and they're stomping around, making noise.
Yeah, we're not ready for bed yet.
Well, I am.
Okay, sorry. Our sweet guide Obi just put out the best little breakfast spread. We got fresh fruit, peach jam, granola that reminds me of the Canadian cereal Sugar Crisp.
On day 2, we woke up and Ovi gave us a rundown of how we were supposed to arrange all of our stuff in our backpacks.
So noon comes, which is our scheduled departure from low camp. We have to do about a 10-kilometer hike, and we have to gain about 500 meters in elevation to get to high camp.
Llama! There's one. Llama! There's one, look, he's hungry. Wyatt right now is carrying his backpack and the front pack, which is all of our camera gear. So he's such a trooper, I'm so proud of him. At every turn in the years we've been together, I'm always so impressed by his strength. Never seen anything like this in my life.
Just up ahead, it looks like there's been constructed a rest area and somebody set up some kind of camp, like a tent. So check it out, we're gonna probably take a second. Rest area?
It's actually the entrance point officially to the mountain.
How you feeling up here?
I honestly don't feel that different. I just feel like as winded as I felt on Kilatoa. The pack is a struggle, it's very heavy, but
it's just for another hour maybe.
yeah, it's just for another hour. What about you when you're hungry?
We made it to high camp.
Done. Good. High camp. 5,200.
Oh, this is cute.
The high camp was pretty much the same as the low camp in the sense that it was just a bunch of bunk beds with some tables to eat at and a kitchen for the guides.
But it was just very old, very rustic feeling. It looked like a castle or a church or something. It was made of like stones that had been stacked, sort of like brick. It was perched on this mountain in such a way, just made it look almost like mythical.
But the thing I liked the most about it was all the little notes on the walls. Like this little one right here. Mind over matter. If you don't mind, it doesn't matter. It just seemed really meaningful to me to read all these messages from people who had accomplished the thing that I was about to do over the last 20 years.
To celebrate Wy&L's biggest challenge yet, Lindsay has created this mountain-inspired merch design.
This design serves as a reminder every time you wear it that facing fears is the quickest way to personal growth.
If you enjoy our content and want to help keep us on the road,
The easiest and quickest way to do that is to head on down to the description and grab one of these Fears to Face Freedom Wears t-shirts.
We're having dinner in about 5 minutes, and then after that, it's 6 p.m. We're meant to go to bed because we're waking up at midnight tonight. Although Wyatt is getting a little head start on his sleeping.
The biggest thing on my mind at this point was, what was I gonna do about what was going on in my stomach?
Dinner time again. Today's soup is fantastic. It's got potatoes, carrots, celery, peas, and these big thick noodles. And they brought us in some bread.
Okay, guys. How are you now? Good?
Good.
How do you feel?
Good.
Decent.
The night at high camp, we were meant to go to bed at 6 p.m. That is because you need to wake up at midnight to leave for the summit. Well guys, tomorrow's a big day. It's about 6:30 p.m. and we are going to sleep.
Okay, it's 12:57 in the morning. In 3 minutes, we're gonna leave to start the 5-hour ascent up to the top of Huayna PotosÍ.
I wasn't feeling super panicked at this point. I was more so just like, okay, I know that this is gonna happen. I've accepted it. I'm just gonna put all my gear on and take one thing at a time.
Everyone was very focused on what we were about to do, and no one was really speaking. And yeah, we were all just very ready to go, ready to get this done.
And before we knew it, it was time to go. The guys were like, let's go, everybody out, we need to leave on time.
We get to the front door of high camp, open it up, and the wind's blowing, it's dark, and it's snowing. And oh my goodness. Wow. Just goosebumps. I couldn't believe what we were doing. I couldn't believe what we were stepping out into.
So we walked outside and turned the corner around the lodge to what looked like in the dark, because I can only see a little circle, a wall of rocks.
The first portion of the climb we come to is just a razor sharp rock field, and we're doing it while wearing these stupid climbing boots.
This part of the climb wasn't necessarily difficult, but it was a little bit scary. You could only see a little circle in front of your face from the headlamp, and you were clambering over these rocks in ski boots.
Once we got out of this sort of portion of rocks, we were able to actually put the crampons on because next came ice and snow.
And Ovi used some rope to attach all of our harnesses together.
1, 2.
So Ovi was out in front leading, Lindsay was in the center, and I was in the back.
Then at this point, we were just walking up a snowy slope for the whole rest of the climb.
For the majority of the climb, it was just a meditation. It was just focusing on your breath.
I had this rhythm and this little mantra in my head where I was like, left foot, right foot, ice axe.
And if my attention drifted to anything else, it was so quickly brought back to the footsteps because otherwise I would have collapsed.
At different points throughout the climb, we saw other groups. Sometimes at the breaking points, or sometimes we would just pass them on the trail.
Every 30 minutes or so, we took breaks.
On our breaks, I would either eat half of a Snickers bar or just drink as much water as I could.
But I was not drinking and I was not eating because of my stomach once again.
We've been going for over 2 hours now.
Yeah, it's coming up on 3, I think.
I was really not in good shape, and it all came down to like, I didn't want to put anything in my body, and all I was eating was Imodium pills.
So once we were probably about 3/4 of the way to the summit, Wyatt started lagging behind a little bit.
Every 15 or 20 minutes, I'd have like this real gurgle sensation and cramping in my stomach.
He was complaining that his stomach was really upset, and I could feel every time that he slowed down or stopped because the rope would go taut behind me.
I think we were around 5,800 meters and things started to get really bad with the stomach pains. I pulled on the rope and got Lindsay and Ovi's attention. Lindsay came back and I explained to her that I'm not feeling so good. There's something seriously wrong. I don't know what to do.
Ovi then said, "Baño, like, do you need to use the bathroom?" And Wyatt said, "No, not right now." So Ovi said, "Okay, baño up there." And he pointed up the mountain a little bit of a way and was like, "That's the plan, we're gonna stop there, you can use the bathroom."
Maybe 10 minutes after he made that offer, I was walking along and there was one giant gurgle, and in the next moment, everything that was in my abdomen evacuated into my pants.
I feel my rope go taut again, and I turn around, and Wyatt flops on the ground like a starfish. It says I pooped my pants. And I just like, it like made me feel like crying, because I was just like, oh no, that's so horrible. Like, oh And so I had to call Ovi, and Ovi comes over and he's like, "Sick? Are you sick?" And me and Wyatt are trying to tell him what happened, like, and Ovi didn't understand.
So I'm standing there with pants filled with, and Ovi is just like trying to figure out what we're trying to communicate to him.
So we had to keep trying to explain it to him for like a minute before he finally understood. And then he was like,
oh. It was something out of a cartoon.
We had to get up and keep walking and go to the place where Ovi was originally thinking we were gonna stop.
It was at this moment where I was defeated. I was ready to turn back. I was ready to go back to low camp and just get out of there as fast as possible.
Wyatt's spirit was just totally broken. And so I went full-fledged like emergency response, and I was like, "Oh my God, don't worry, like I'll help you."
Lindsay was amazing. She totally took care of the situation.
"Don't worry, we got this." Like I just like zeroed in on the situation, and I was like, "Okay, this is what we're gonna do. Like we're gonna pull off to the side where people can't really see you."
We got to a place that was kind of out of the way, but a lot of people saw me naked for sure.
"We're gonna pull down your pants and we're gonna use our gloves, our little bit of toilet paper, anything we have to just clean you up."
She actually got a knife off of one of the other guides, and I used the knife to cut out all of the layers that had been, well, filled with, you know. We had all these like gloves and hats and things that we had purchased for pretty cheap down in La Paz that we were using as underlayers, and we just basically took those and used them to like scrub my legs and clean me up as best we could on the side of the mountain in the pitch dark at 5,800 meters in the freezing cold with other people watching.
If you guys want to go ahead.
So in this defeated state, I had given up. After what I just went through, I was going home. And then when we got back to Obi and he looked at us and he was so ready to continue, it kind of just swayed us in the direction of going along with his energy. The stomach pains that were making this climb so difficult was gone, and I felt a lot better after getting cleaned up. So we carried on and we headed off for the summit.
It's been a few hours, and a lot of has gone down. Literally. But we're very close to the summit now. Sun's coming up. I'm struggling a lot to breathe. But it's okay, we're going slow. And we are not leaving here without getting to the summit.
We We had another 300 or so meters to go at this point.
Left foot, right foot. And like, even though you're breathing, like you're just not getting oxygen. So it's not really doing anything like it normally does.
Each breath I took above 6 was like coming up for oxygen after like a long free dive. It was like,
At that point, we're hiking along and Ovi goes, there's the summit, and like points to it. And we could literally see it, like it was right there. You just had to walk up this pathway on the edge of the mountain and you beat the summit. We did it! We're at the summit! We actually did it! Oh, we thank you! Oh my god! 6,088 Wow, I'm so proud of you. I really thought we may not do it.
Yeah, me too.
This is actually the hardest thing I've ever done.
For sure.
You're on top of the world. We've been up here for about 10 minutes, did some photos, best that we could. Now it's time to head back down. Wow. Fear is the phase freedom wears. It's like my favorite quote ever. It like even makes me cry thinking about how much it means to me, because like if you face your fears, you will be free. And on the other side of all of them is a better you, and a better world, and a better everything. And all you have to do is face it. There's been a lot of talk of poopy pants this morning.
Yeah.
Bolivian food's a little hard on everybody.
I don't know if it's the food as much as it is the altitude. I didn't know that altitude affects like the body's ability to actually absorb and like digest. And they were saying yesterday that it does, so
Yeah.
it could just be that. Like we never even considered that.
No, and they said it after you ate your whole dinner.
Yeah, he's like, don't eat all your dinner, or like eat only what you need. And then I looked at it, I was like, man, my plate's clear. It was delicious.
Goodbye, Huayna PotosÍ. You kicked my ass.
Thank you to all of you who support us on Patreon and really do make these adventures possible. If you enjoy our videos and you want to watch our travel adventure from the very beginning, you can press the playlist on your screen right now.